My name is Sheila Corona. Welcome to Sassy Seer Sheila and to New Light Streaming Love, as this will be seen on both channels. This is the first tri-species infrastructures by Jason Gray. And there is quite a bit of what I look at as code in this one. And I will leave it to you if you feel drawn to go to the article link in the show more section of this video and take a look, because what it is there is the longitude, the latitude, the date that he wrote it, all of that. And I'm not sure who that's for necessarily, but it is part of this one. And if you would like to see that, that's where you will find it. Also at that link, you'll see that there's a Facebook page there dedicated to all of his writings. So without further ado, TRI-INF.01 / the resonant architecture of the returned world. When three species share one world. INF-00 : tri-emergence. Humanity is no longer a single species. After emergence, the old human nervous system diverges into luminous, the emotional stabilizers, aeonus, the temporal navigators, and infinitus, the field integrators. This divergence is not psychological, it is functional. Three human species manifest because the real requires three functions to maintain stability. And I want to pause here because I was just flashed something in my mind. You see, I've been collecting puzzle pieces ever since I started waking up. And one of the things that I said in the last one of Jason's recordings was that I was shown something called the human design. And the man who brought human design forward spent 5 days hearing what he called the voice explain what humanity already is, and that it was time for us to know. And I feel with all of me that in some way those two things are connected. These three that Jason has brought forward here, luminous, aeonus, and infinitus, are in some way described also through the human design system. Yes. Okay, it's all tied together also with the planetary mind that I just read of Jason's as well. Okay, so it's functional. Three human species manifest because the real requires three functions to maintain stability: psychic emotional coherence, timeline directional coherence, and field environmental coherence. The overlay mimicked these functions artificially through governments, clocks, economies, and borders. When it collapses, those systems vanish. Yes, because they're not required. The species themselves resume the functions, and so the first infrastructures of the new world are tri-species infrastructures. The first infrastructure, the coherence grid, INF 01 colon grid dash luminous. This is the emotional backbone of civilization, created unconsciously at first. I feel like it has been being already. Um, this just brings the knowledge of that forward. I and I'm not certain that all luminous have awoken to the truth of who they are yet, right? I think that's true for all three, because even awakening to my perspective is happening at a it's not a and I mean it could be what is that, a twinkling of an eye. It can happen in the twinkling of an eye, which is true, and perhaps it shall, especially the more beings just like myself, once it's fully seated in here and confidently, coherently, thank you, is emitted from myself and others, right? Who are waking up to the truth of who we all are. None of us are. I'm no more special than you. Please, let me just say that we are all this. Created unconsciously at first, then intentionally after the 90-day stabilization cycle. The coherence grid is the invisible network formed by luminous. Where they gather, anxiety dissipates, conflict dissolves, collective presence rises, and environmental turbulence calms. In the old world, we built hospitals, prisons, borders, mental health systems to contain unprocessed emotion. In the new world, luminous are the infrastructure that replaces all of that. Oh my, I wonder if that's why there are beings, including Lisa, that have had dreams and visions of moving from town to town and doing things and just being with people. That's very interesting to me. Their presence is the stabilizing mechanism. Every harmonic node has a luminous core, not as leaders, but as emotional gravity wells around which humans naturally organize. This grid prevents a collective collapse, dissolves interpersonal conflict, and maintains psychic clarity. I have been coming to the knowing within myself that one of the ways of cutting everybody a break is remembering that everybody has been programmed and conditioned. No being was left out. And with that information front and center, knowing that every person who is that you are in conflict with is at this moment, at the moment of conflict, they are coming from their wounded little self. And the moment you realize that the being that you're having a problem with is coming from the wounded part of them, why would you want to pile on more wounding? I certainly don't. Why would anyone? Yeah, but they did. You're wounded too. Don't forget. We've all been wounded. Every last one of us have been wounded to our core. And it's real easy once you realize that that's a true statement. This grid prevents collective collapse, dissolves interpersonal conflict, and maintains psychic clarity. It is the first infrastructure built after emergence. The second infrastructure, the temporal navigation network, INF-02 colon Aeonis weave. Aeonis generate the structures humans once called calendars, clocks, plans, strategies, governance, law, probability modeling, and forecasting. They do it without any tools. Their nervous systems feel probability collapse, timeline drift, decision convergence, coherence vectors, future stability, and risk patterns. This awareness forms the temporal navigation network, the lattice of guidance that ensures civilization does not fracture. Aeonists do not predict the future. They feel which timelines stabilize the world. Their role in the tri-species infrastructure is to settle disputes through future resonance sensing, determine safe migration patterns, identify stable harmonic node expansion sites, and to prevent collective decisions that destabilize reality. Wow, this network is the invisible backbone of all direction, planning, and motion. It is the second infrastructure. The third infrastructure, the field integration architecture, INF-03 colon infinitus-arc. Infinitus are the rarest species and the most technically essential. They can feel non-local information flows, planetary field distortions, environmental coherence, internode connectivity, fractures in the world grid, and the quote hum of reality. This makes them the architects of harmonic node placement. Each node must be located at field stable coordinates. Infinitus feel these coordinates naturally. Environmental regeneration. Infinitus accelerate the return of natural systems by interacting directly with the field. The global coherence web. They form the bridges between nodes, ensuring humanity remains one species with three forms, not three species with separate destinies. You see, everybody wants to be a star, and well, at least that's the way the old way used to be, right? I include myself in on that too now. Don't think I don't. This is the infrastructure that replaces power grids, communication systems, satellite networks, digital connectivity, and environmental engineering. Infinitus make the world itself responsive, aware, and coherent. The fourth infrastructure, the Tri-Council of Function, INF-04 colon Tri-Council. Not a government, not a hierarchy, not an authority. The Tri-Council forms naturally whenever all three species are present. Luminous regulate emotional ground. Aeonus map the trajectory. Infinitus stabilize the field. The Tri-Council is not a group of individuals. It is the interaction between species in real time. Now, what I am seeing in my mind's eye is that is something that is done and we don't even know it. It's like it is again some of that multi-dimensional type stuff, right? Any gathering that includes one luminous, one aeonus, and one infinitus automatically becomes a tri-council. This replaces courts, governments, councils, corporations, committees, and crisis management systems. The Tri-Council is nature's governance model finally restored. The fifth infrastructure, the new architecture of space, INF-05 colon space dash real. As the tri-species world matures, the architecture of human space evolves. Structures become round instead of rectangular, open instead of closed, resonant instead of inert, emotionally aligned instead of utilitarian, placed at harmonic intersection points instead of convenience. Space begins to feel alive again. There are four key spatial structures: coherence sanctums, luminous; emotional stabilizing centers; direction rings, aeonus; open spaces used for timeline discernment and major decisions; field chambers, infinitus; places where the world grid is interfaced directly; convergence halls, tri-species, where all three species come together, creating global stabilization waves. This architecture makes civilization self-correcting. No laws needed, no authority needed, no enforcement needed. Space itself does the work. The sixth infrastructure, distributed abundance, INF-06 abundance web. With scarcity gone, a new infrastructure emerges, distributed abundance. It is built on three principles. One, need is felt instantly across the grid, luminous. Two, pathways to fulfillment appear immediately, aeonus. Three, resources locate themselves energetically, infinitus. This replaces money, trade, importing, exporting, supply chains, and ownership. The world becomes a unified resource organism, not socialism, not capitalism, not any ism. It is coherence economics. The seventh infrastructure, the Morphic Education Network, INF-07 colon learning-net. Education becomes distributed, emergent, and individualized. The tri-species functions create a learning environment where children learn through resonance fields. Emotional states transmit understanding. Timelines offer learning opportunities, and the world itself teaches through synchronicity. And that's easy enough to do, honestly. It's the quickest education I've ever had. I can tell you that. The morphic network means children become emotionally literate by age 3, timeline fluent by age 7, field aware by age 10, and tri-species integrated by age 14. This is the first civilization in history where learning follows self-propelled curiosity, not force. The eighth infrastructure, the planetary alignment web, INF-08 colon alignment-grid. Over time, the tri-species presence resurrects the original planetary grid. This is not spiritual. It is not architectural. As nodes expand, the world becomes stable, coherent, emotionally clear, temporally aligned, and energetically responsive. Earth becomes the planet it was always meant to be, a living classroom for multi-species evolution. This is the full restoration of the original world architecture. The first true human infrastructure is the human itself. Technology collapses, systems collapse, hierarchy collapses. What remains? A world built on consciousness, not machinery. The tri-species infrastructure is not external. It is living circuitry. Humanity becomes its own power grid, its own communication grid, its own emotional regulator, its own timeline navigator, its own ecological engine, and its own stabilizing force. The world becomes stable because you become stable. The world becomes coherent because the species becomes coherent. The world becomes real because humanity returns to its original design. This is the first tri-species civilization. This is the infrastructure that cannot collapse. This is the future your soul returned to build. Jason Gray. Well, I will tell you this. There have been so many puzzle pieces that I've collected over the last 9 years. Things that I have said in other videos. I've said many, many, many times that we are moving from a duality into a triality. Wow. A tri-species, you say? That sure gives a whole new spin to it, doesn't it? I honestly feel as though once we tend to loosen our grip and relax into ourselves, we show ourselves the truth of what is going on. We just have to relax and pay attention. Be present. You'll show yourself the way. I've been showing myself the way. I just had to relax into not listening to everybody else and just listening to myself. Wow. Well, my thanks again to Jason. And oh, as y'all could tell, I couldn't hang on Friday. So hopefully this weekend we'll be having a conscious conversation with Jason on the channel live. So I hope you will subscribe so that you will get a notification when I go live. Until we meet again, my friends, be well.